Hello, it's me, Nathan. I know it's been a long time. I got an email from YouTube saying that if I don't make a video, they're going to demonetize my channel. It's not so much the money, it's more about having to go through all that rigmarole to get it back up and running if I wanted to make videos in the future. So I know people don't want to hear all this stuff, half the guys don't care, especially if you haven't watched my videos before, but I have to say something because people will be like, where the hell have you been? Long story short, the last you saw of me, I moved from Australia to New Zealand. We didn't like it. New Zealand's not the place that I grew up. It's very different now, just do a Google search. So a few months later, we just came back to Australia and we've been here for a couple of years now. When we got back, I had to buy a car, and it was the peak time for vehicle inflation, used car inflation. A $2,000 Hyundai Getz, like a 2004 Hyundai Getz, was going for like $8,000 to $10,000. There were car dealers in Australia posting pictures of cars in wrecking yards. Like they hadn't even taken it out. They hadn't done anything to it. It was just like, I remember the ad. It said, blown transmission, air conditioning doesn't work, the convertible top doesn't work, rain damage, good car, $11,000. And it wasn't even like a special car or anything like that. There were heaps of them. The worst part was, some of you would know we had the highest Super, which I loved, my wife loved, everyone loved. It was such a special car, and I couldn't go back to buying another one. The highest Super that we bought for 12, spent a ton of money on, and especially time, and sold, we couldn't buy for what we sold it for. In fact, they were going for like 30 grand. And they didn't have all the work that I'd done to mine. There's mosquitoes here, that's why I'm scratching myself. So I couldn't buy another highest Super Custom. They're way too expensive at that time. They didn't have the work that I put into mine. And to be honest, my highest Super was just special to me. And I couldn't go back to getting another one because it just wouldn't be the same. It wouldn't be the right color, the interior wouldn't be right, all the little things that I did to mine, it just wouldn't be the same. So we couldn't go down that road. What we wanted was something relatively cheap, but kind of special, and that kind of had everything. I wanted a car that had everything in it. I don't want to feel like I missed out. I don't want to spend $11,000 to $14,000 on like a 2005 Toyota Camry, like a base spec with nothing on it. And I couldn't find anything. I couldn't find anything. I even flew from Perth to Sydney to look at a Toyota Estima, which I'm interested in now because family's changing, but it turned out to be crappy. So I had to fly all the way back, and I was in kind of like a mad rush because when you don't have wheels, life kind of sucks. But once you have a car with like a sunroof, and I knew I wanted heated seats and whatnot, what do? There's nothing out there. Then I kind of thought to myself, like, hey, you know cars better than anyone else. And so far in my life, I am the guy that knows cars better than anyone else that I've met. I know that sounds arrogant, but it just happens to be true. And I thought, what about a Suzuki Kizashi? I know they're pretty high spec. They look pretty cool when they were new. I saw them driving around, but I never kind of paid attention to them. I'm like, well, they're a few years old now. And so I started looking, and that's when I realized just how much time, effort, and money Suzuki spent on the Kizashi. It was pretty great. So Kizashi was Suzuki's attempt at a full-blown luxury car. They didn't want to go big luxury car, they wanted something a little bit sporty. And I don't know everything about this car. To be honest, life has been very, very busy. I did like some basic research on it, and some guys reached out to me from the Facebook group, and I had a couple of questions. From what I understand, they went to Germany to design and develop it. It was tested on the Nürburgring, and they benchmarked it against the BMW 3 Series and I think the C200 for the Mercedes. I could be wrong. And that's what we ended up getting. So for $10,000, this is what I got. This car is a 2012 Suzuki Kizashi Sport, which means it's the automatic with the all-wheel drive. I picked this one up for $10K because it was in Perth. It was convenient. Secondly, it came with all of its logbooks, so it's never missed a single service in its life, which is pretty special. By the time a car gets like 10 years old, whatever, onto its second owner, they start missing things. But the thing that stood out to me was anytime the dealership recommended something getting done to this, the original owners just said, yes, whatever, yeah, just do it. The downsides to it was the paint was starting to fade and it hasn't got any better. There's a story behind this too. So as soon as we got it, a couple of days later, we took it to one of these, hand car wash places. They're like franchisees, they're all over the place. And the guy scanned the number plate, and it turns out this car had been there 52 times throughout its life. And he said to me, do you want the usual? And I was like, well, what's the usual? The usual for this car was like a $500 to $600 full detail where they cut and polish everything. And so this thing's been cut and polished 52 times, and I'm surprised that it's even got any clear coat here. The thing about Australia is Australians don't really know the difference between waxing and polishing. So when you go to like a lot of these hand car wash places, they think polish is like a paint protection sort of wax, and so do the owners. And so they just cut and polish, cut and polish, cut and polish. Yeah, so that's why I like washing my own stuff. Anyway, secondly, I was really surprised at the amount of features that you get in this car. I did not know myself. I was just shocked. And when I drove it and the way that it drove, how heavy it felt, and I don't mean tractor heavy, I mean like just very luxurious heavy, how quiet it was, how smooth it was. I figured it'd just be a great car to daily around it, which is exactly what we needed. But it's not too bad on fuel too. It's 8.4 litres per 100. So let me show you around it. This one's finished in mineral grey. When I bought it, it had headlight covers and it had the bonnet protector, which is still on here. The headlight protectors were old and faded and cracked, and they actually just fell off. It's got, down the front, fog lights and headlight washers as well. So, fun fact, this car was predominantly designed to be sold in North America and Canada. That was the target market for this. And because it was launched before YouTube is what YouTube is today, no one knew about it. There was like 8 people that showed up to the launch of this car, and it was really sad to see. Like literally, I'm not kidding. There was like 8 people that showed up. Anyway, this thing was made for Canada and North America where it snows, which is why it's got headlight washers on here as well. It's not for like off-roading and mud and stuff. Pretty much no car with headlight washers is made for like mud, which is what a lot of guys think, driving through the mud. No, it's for places where you get salt spray and snow. So to clean that off. So this one is the sport model. It's a little bit lower from what I understand, about 10 millimeters. It's got firmer suspension, which is pretty good because if you look it up, I don't know how to describe it, and it sounds like no one else does as well. It's very sporty, it's very firm, but it's very comfortable as well. Being Suzuki's flagship that was tested on the Nürburgring, and this isn't a performance car. I say they benchmarked it off the 3 Series. It wasn't the M3 because they're using Suzuki underpinnings. So although it looks very sporty, it's got the beating heart of a Suzuki Vitara under the bonnet. So it's not fast at all, but it's plenty powerful enough. It's zippy enough to get you in and out of traffic pretty quickly, and overtake as well. I've had it up to like 170 overtaking, but I don't look, I don't care. It's just a car to be driven. And that's what it's brilliant at, just being a car. All right, so down the side, it is the silhouette of a sedan. It's not quite as big as like a Camry, and it's not quite as small as like a Corolla. It's somewhere in between. It's a really weird size. And it's a really handy size as well. It is pretty wide, and I suspect that has a lot to do with its handling, and that's why it's got the flared wheel arches. I'm not sure about this, but I heard that this is, and Suzuki bought the license to use the Audi A3 or A4 chassis. Someone would know. I'm not an expert, I don't really care. Like I said, and you will see throughout this car, there is literal cobwebs on it, there is bird crap on it. The paint's fading on the wheels. If you know me and what I used to be like, I would have licked this car clean myself if I didn't have a hose. Now I have a hose and I don't really bother. This isn't my car anymore. I don't really drive it. This is my wife's car. She scrapes it around places and whatnot, and that's fine. The key for having something like this, and the whole purpose of this video, besides YouTube shutting me down, this is to show you how much car you can get for your money. This costs 10K here in Australia, but in North America, you can get these for like 3 or 4 grand. So you can get a ton of car for your money. And if you just need something to run around in, if you need a second car that you're not gonna fuss and worry about if someone dings into it, which is something that I really worried about with the highest Super Custom. In Australia, if you swore at the Super Custom, your insurance would write it off as like emotionally damaged because no one wants to fix it and you can't get parts for it. So you spend all your time trying to make this nice, this old 90s van, nice, immaculate, perfect, reliable, and you sink all your money and your skill and your labor into it, and then someone is texting and crashes into it and it's gone, done, finished. You can't walk into another Toyota dealership and be like, yeah, I'll get another Super Custom. Not gonna happen. But this, it's not so old that it's rare. There are still a few of these around, but it is pretty rare, and I'll get to that next. And parts are plentiful and everywhere. The reason it's rare is because Suzuki only made one generation of this car. It's not like a Corolla that's been around since, what, the 70s? It's not even like a Skyline that's been around since the 80s, or even earlier. Suzuki wanted to come out with that flagship. They spent all their time, effort, and money, and their best engineers, and going overseas and benchmarking things and doing everything right to the last ounce, basically. And no one bought it, and then they stopped making it. There hasn't been a Kizashi before or since this model here. And so it is very special. I think it's a very good looking car. The camera that I use is one of those little action cameras, so it doesn't frame things properly. When it is framed properly using like a full frame DSLR, it looks stunning. In person, it looks very good. A lot of people still stare at it, even me. Like if I see one on the road, my eyes just naturally go to it because like when it was new, it was a very unique looking car. And it's aged very well. I don't think a lot of people can tell that this is, what, like a 14-year-old car now? So I think, yeah, it's aged pretty gracefully. The tires are 235 45s, obviously 18-inch wheels all round. So pretty wide tires for a very small car. And I think that has a lot to do with how it handles. It handles very, very well. One of the downsides is it tram lines quite a bit. So if there's sort of a little divot in the road, the whole car will kind of want to sit in there. But that's fine. You get very used to it. It doesn't sort of jerk you off the road. And it's got electric power steering as well, which is nice. But it's a sporty car, and they tuned the electric power steering to be sporty, so it is quite heavy. Once you get used to it, you don't notice it until you get into another car, and you're like, wow, the steering's so light in this. Yeah, it's got a very heavy, quiet, insulated driving feel to it. On the front fender, you got sport badging in red, and indicator or turn signal. The wing mirrors don't fold in electronically, but they are powered on both sides, and they're heated as well. These don't have blind spot monitoring, so it's not that new. 2010 to 2014, I think these were made. But yeah, that's all you need. On the windscreen, it's got the more modern wipers, which is the curved blade design. I'm not sure if it came out brand new like that, but I put curved blades on it. And the wipers are automatic as well. So that's pretty handy. What is automatic as well is the headlights. So automatic headlights, automatic wipers. You're already doing better than a $120,000 Land Cruiser 300 Series GXL. I'm pretty peed off with Toyota at the moment because the 300 Series has grown on me over the past 4 or 5 years. When it first came out, I thought it was hideous. I do like it now. It is a real Land Cruiser. The trouble with it is they've reduced the oil sump size. It's only like 6 or 7 liters, which is tiny. And the other thing I don't like is they got real greedy. And I'm sure you know that Toyota got real greedy around the entire world. And they started skimping. So the 300 Series GXL costs here in Australia $120,000. It's about 100,000 US dollars. And they removed the automatic wipers from it so that you step up and buy the VX for, I think, like 130. It's crazy, crazy. And you will get like the dying breed of guys who say, well, the less electronics, the better. Well, you shouldn't be buying a freaking 300 series then, right? You should be buying like a horse and carriage instead. Yeah, 120 grand, and that would hurt. Anywho, moving on. On the roof, paint is optional, but it flakes off for free. So I'm not really bothered about it. When I first got this car, I really thought to myself, I'm going to take this to work. I'm going to get the panel guys to respray it. They'll tidy it all up. I'll get the wheels done. I'm going to do this to it. I'm going to do that to it. I'm going to start storing parts for it. I'm going to keep it forever. Blah, blah. I'll turn into my little gremlin that I used to be. And then I was like, what the F am I doing? Why? No, I don't care. The best part about this car is just using it. If it gets a little ding, oh well, whatever. Let's move on to the next thing. What's for dinner? You know, life is much more important than trying to protect and preserve things. It took me a very, very long time to realize this. I spent my whole life protecting things and like polishing them. I would ceramic coat my phones so that they wouldn't get damaged, and I'd pull them out and look at it, and guess how many calls I used to get a day? None, because I had no friends. Guess how many texts I used to get a day? Maybe 5 from my wife, and maybe 1 call a week from my mum. I didn't have anyone. I was just waiting to live. And that when I was ready to live, when I was ready to live my life, my phone will be ready. It'll be in perfect condition. When I got some friends, when I got a place to go to or somewhere to be, my car would be clean, it'll be nice, it'll be reliable, and then I could start living my life. I was kind of on hold for a little while. And now life is busier than ever. And then I look back to the cars that I enjoyed the most when I was a kid. And that was the Toyota MR2 GT, or just the Toyota MR2. It had like McDonald's wrappers up to like the windows in it. and I never changed the oil in them. I never did anything. I just drove them, put fuel in it and just drove them. And I feel like I got the most use out of them. And I think if you're too precious about things and you don't use them, remember, we're going to die one day. We can't take our cars with us. We can't take anything with us. So the only way you'll feel like you've truly enjoyed something is if you just use it. Just use it. And if it gets damaged in the process, then so be it. You don't have to be negligent. You can be very caring, but don't be obsessive. Right? You can't park things in the garage and just protect them like I once used to. So yeah, paint's fading, doesn't matter. The car still works, it does its job. Up here, it's a sunroof. There is a sunroof, I should say. Like the Super Custom, it pops up. Unlike the Super Custom, the front sunroof moves all the way back. The second and third sunroof on this car doesn't exist, unlike the Super Custom. So, hey, you know, you got a balanced life. If you ask my wife behind the camera what car she would want out of the entire world, her dream car, and I said this to her, I said, do you want a Lexus SUV? And she's like, nah, I want a higher Super Custom again. Like, that is her dream car. And it's mine still too. I love that car. Especially if you've got a family, you've got kids, you've got a puppy. I'm sure you've seen my German Shepherd puppy walking around. You can't beat that car. It's so easy to drive. Anyway, don't get me started. Speaking of puppies, this car's got genuine Suzuki weather shields. Puppy took one out. He had his head sticking out here at KFC, and I don't know what happened. I was putting the window up a little bit, and he just took it out. Anywho, fuel filler door. You just press it open, it pops open. If the car's locked, obviously you can't do that. One thing I want you to hear is how solid it sounds. It's like just a really heavy, solid feeling car. You wouldn't associate that with Suzuki, but if you're wondering why I'm jittering around and maybe the camera moves every now and then, in this little carport of ours, and it's kind of like warming up and it's spring, we got a lot of mosquitoes now. So as I make this video, my wife and I are being eaten alive. We've got a little mosquito coil down there. If you look at the back, there's a little ducktail spoiler. I think the back looks really nice on this car. Another little, if you come pretty close in, another little special part about this car is like the lighting. I'll turn the lights on and they've got like multiple sets of lights instead of just having one bulb. It's like, you know how they say technology gets so good before it advances to the next level? And this is sort of like the last era of standard incandescent bulbs before we move to LED. This actual, I'm going to show you the lights. This actual tail light assembly here has one set of lights that are blown, but because there's like multiple sets, you don't really have to replace it if you get a tail light out. I'll turn it on so you can have a look. I'll open the boot. There is a little rubber button down here for you to open it, or you can open it from the key, or you can open it from inside. So it's a pretty good sized boot, very good sized boot actually. I used to have a BMW 5 Series and I worked at a lot of dealerships and car places in my life. And when you work in these places as a kid and then you get older, you start picking up on the differences between luxury cars and just sort of normal cars. One thing I've figured out with all the luxury cars, mostly European brands, is they're very ashamed of like the metal bars that hinge the boot lid or the trunk lid, if you're watching in North America. But yeah, all the luxury cars hide it with like a bit of plastic, just like this. This one has a bunch of carpet, so it's got a very thick pile carpet. Then it's got the standard sort of boot lid carpet, and then underneath that you've got a full-size spare wheel, which is, again, really good if you live in Australia or North America or Canada and you're doing long distances and things like that. If you buy a brand new car today, lucky if you get like a tire repair kit, usually you'll get a little sticker that says call this number and we'll get someone out to you. And do you think they're going to have a spare tire for you? No, they're going to try patch it. What if you got sidewall damage? Too bad, you're going to get a tow truck and you might be waiting for hours for a tow truck. You know how I know? So I work in roadside assistance. So this car gets used for groceries and everything. It is very dirty. There are cobwebs in places. Like I said, I don't really care too much about it. I do clean it. It is paint protected for whatever paint is left. There is tie down points here and further inside there as well, and down on the floor. So you do get tie down points. There is a little light which is nice to have. You'd be surprised at how many cars don't have lights. And then one of my favorite things about this car is the sound system. It's a Rockford Fosgate system, and it blew me away. It still does to this day. When I was younger, I used to have subwoofers put in my cars as a kid because you just wanted the bass. Boom, 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 boom. This one's got the bass, but it's also crystal clear, and just the quality is so nice. Once you get used to it, it's hard to go back. And since I'm in my new car now, which costs 6 times the amount of this car and has probably 6 times less the features, it's got a 6-speaker sound system where I think this has 10 or 12. I'm not sure actually, but yeah, you notice a difference, and I miss the sound system in this a lot. Anywho, the boot's nice. There's a little grab handle to pull it down and close it. The badges on the back, you've got Suzuki. It is kind of like, I'm not sure if it's metal or not. It is very cold to the touch. But yeah, everything just feels very high quality in this car. And I guess that's what Suzuki was after. It's got the more modern sort of tabs that you pull out and screw in a eyelet if you need to get it towed. These exhaust tips are fake. They look very nice. I think they suit the car. I think if you got rid of them, it'll drastically change the aesthetic of the car. I do like how the tyre kind of just sticks out a little bit there. It gives it that sportier look. When you look at this car, you would expect it to be, well, I guess in a modern day setting, something like a 2-litre turbo. But yeah, it's a shame that never came out with that. I think that's exactly what this car needed. But like I said, the handling more than makes up for its outright speed and performance. So this sort of side profile of the car really looks good. I love how the wheels are cambered. It's very sporty. That's factory as well. Like, it's not me playing with it. I had brand new tires put on it, all before winter, and a brand new wheel alignment. Before I got the new tires and wheel alignment, it was really cambered, so it had come in quite a bit. This side's got both its weather shields still. The paint on the sides are really good. There's scratches here and there. When I got the car, it was already tinted, which is great. If you know me, when I get a car, I go through everything. Window tint, normally stereo speakers, but this one didn't need it, obviously with a Rockford system. And then like major service. Before I get to the downsides of this car and the engine, let me show you inside. So before I do that, let me show you the key. So that's what the key looks like. Lock, unlock, and boot release. And then on the back, if you pull that, just like any other modern key, pull it out and you got a standard Suzuki key. The difference about this one, and the good thing is actually, I got both original keys for it. The good thing and the bad thing about it is it's made by Calsonic Kansai Corporation. Yeah, good luck trying to find a cheap replacement. You'll probably get a locksmith or something to give you a generic key made for it if you do lose one. But yeah, this is made by Calsonic. Remember the blue R32 GTR from the 90s? Pretty special company. I didn't know what they did, but apparently they do this sort of stuff. Cool. To get in, there is keyless entry. There's also a button on the door here. Grizzly. So Grizzly is going to take over now. The door cards are very luxury car-like. Soft, very, very soft, like gel, and then soft. Automatic up and down for the 2 front windows, and then auto, but obviously not all the way up and down for the back windows. You've got wing mirror controls, decent sized door bins, like really decent. That'll hold a big bottle and place to put your stuff. You got your boot release right here. Oh, I should mention the seats are real leather. There is next to no damage or fading to them, or no splitting, no cracking. So very, very high quality. And this driver's seat has 3-way memory setting as well. Although my wife keeps deleting my memory setting. I don't know, she just can't use stuff. And also lumbar support. Automatic climate control, dual zone climate, and heated front seats as well. On the little panel next to the driver here, you've got headlight washers. Now, if your headlights are on and you hit the washer switch, it'll automatically wash your headlights as well. Fog lamps, parking sensors, forgot to mention that. Really good parking sensors, front and rear. Traction control off if you want to get sporty, I guess. And then you've got the switch for two-wheel drive and all-wheel drive as well. I'll put a shot of underneath the car. I don't know if you can see it or not, but there is a proper drive shaft and a differential and whatnot. You can't really go rock crawling in it or drive on the beach, it's too low. But it's, like I said, made for North America, snowy places, and it's really good at that, from what I hear. All right, so a leather steering wheel. You can always tell when a woman's had a car because, well, I'm gonna get freaking roasted for that, but yeah, men wear rings too, but yeah, this one, someone's had a ring and just sort of chewed up the steering wheel. If I've got a leather steering wheel, I don't like to wear rings or anything, so I don't. But yeah, really nice wheel, really good size, and it makes a big difference. You've got the automatic wipers and then auto headlights on this side. And then for the transmission, which is an automatic, you can switch over on the actual transmission itself to sport mode, and then you've got pedals here. And these aren't like the little tiny pedals, they go all the way down here. Nice instrument cluster, pretty basic, but it gives you like your range and your fuel economy, things like that. Very simple dials, very sporty, all red lighting in the car as well, so kind of Audi-ish. One thing I will mention is just the way that it smells in here. No matter what you put in here, including a wet dog, when you open the door, you get that smell of really nice, thick, luxurious leather. And I suspect that's probably not going to change for the life of the car. The dashboard is hard plastic, but it's not cheap plastic, if you know what I mean. There's a difference. I've routed a USB-C cable. Does that ring a bell to some people? About another car I had. All the way up here so that my wife can chuck her phone there and put it on charge. Yeah, little vents here to demist the side windows. So yeah, you can tell it's made for a pretty soggy place. The cool thing about this is like everything's pretty luxurious. Both sides have illuminated vanity mirrors and these little pull-out sunshades so that you can pop it on the side. And if there's sun coming in around the sides, you can just pull that out. It's really handy to have. Trust me, because like I said, my new car, which cost $60,000 or more actually, a lot more actually, doesn't have half of this stuff. Automatic dimming rearview mirror, again, sunglasses holder, and then your sunroof controls and your map lights and door lights, courtesy lights. There's also like two little red ambient lights up here, and you don't really see them like illuminating down here at night, but when you cover them, you notice them. So yeah, really nicely done. On the center stack, you got the Rockford Fosgate stereo system. It's got Bluetooth, so it does connect to your phone. This is from the iPod era, so yeah, you could plug in to the USB your iPod. I've just got a USB stick with some music on it for the wife, and I update it every now and then, and she listens to that. A little more storage under here. The climate control, you've got your heated seat controls, and then your dual zone climate setting, and then automatic. So I am one of the few people that I know of in this world that uses automatic climate control. It just drives me nuts when I see people get in the car and turn the AC all the way down when it's hot, and then they get too cold, then they turn it all the way up, and then they get too hot, and they turn it, and they're playing with the fan speed. In my cars, I think my wife likes 24 degrees Celsius, and it's just set to 24 always. So when you get in the car and it's really hot outside, it'll be blowing, not 24, it'll be blowing as cold as it possibly can until it starts getting close to 24 degrees Celsius, and it'll automatically ramp down until it basically just trickles out the right amount of air. If it's really cold outside, it'll blow as hot as it can until it, again, gets close to 24, and it'll ramp down on its own. On the steering wheel, you got volume controls. I think this changes the song. It does. Mute, and then you can change where the music comes from. At the bottom, you got flick up tabs, so voice control, answer and hang up for your phone. And on this side, you got cruise control, resume, set, and then your trip that little screen in the middle, trip computer. And then on this side, obviously, you got your little start stop button. The steering is reach and tilt, so it'll come out to you, go back in, and obviously go up and down. Quite a lot of features, but yeah, lots of luxury car features here. In luxury cars, again, like I said with the boot sort of hinges, they like everything to be damped. So nothing is kind of like plastic and just like flings open. Everything always happens slowly and precisely. Very nicely and slowly. So the cup holders are there, but you can hide it just like any other luxury car. The true tier glove box, or center console I should say, is lined in felt, as is a lot of things. And on the bottom side, there is a little 12-volt socket there as well. Yeah, super soft, super nice. Handbrake, if you notice, is on that side, which tells you one thing. This car was made for the steering wheel to be on that side as well. One thing about the new Nissan Z that gets to me is people keep calling it a JDM car, and the handbrake for the right-hand version is over here on that side. It's not a JDM car if it was designed predominantly for North America. Again, with the glove box, it is illuminated and opens very slowly, and it is felt lined, and then there's a separate space up there by the light for the owner's manual. Passenger side door is the same. It's got same sort of leather, the same treatments, and same door bins. Yeah, sunroof controls. Even the little grab handles are nice and slow to retract. Good headrests. This one's obviously two-tone, black and tan, cream, whatever you want to call it. Just a really nice place to be. One thing I noticed, you notice lots of little things about these cars. The wipers are silent inside. You cannot hear anything when the wipers are working. All you hear is the actual blade itself, but in terms of the motor, you don't hear anything. It is a very insulated cocoon place to be. And I'm not going to drive this for you, I'm not going to show you driving it, but boy does it handle like it's on rails. You can really throw it around, and it goes to show you don't need a lot of power to have fun every single day. You can have a lot of fun just in the corners. This is what it looks like from the driver's side, about my head height. I'll close this door. Super easy to look out from. The windows are quite small and being tinted, so you're kind of hidden away. It's the opposite of bright and airy, although you do have the sunroof. And yeah, just a really nice place to be. This is a car that you just drive. It's a luxurious car. You can have fun in corners, but you just drive. You get lost in the conversation, speaking with people and stuff like that. So, really plush carpets as well. It's really easy to vacuum. Another sign of a good luxurious car. The lady who had this car had high heels, or wore high heels frequently, and basically chewed through that bit of floor mat. And again, like I said, now I'm not too bothered. I'm much more impressed with the car, much more happy with the car being just a car. So yeah, great. It's fine. It works. The back seats are about the same. You've got leather, soft door cards, little strap pockets to put things away. Again, if you look at a lot of luxury cars, people in luxury cars like these net things. I don't know why, instead of just pockets. It's harder to get things in there. These nets get loose and they just frickin' basically hang loose after a while if they're used, instead of just actual, rear seat back pockets. But you look at most luxury cars and they've got the nets. So that's what Suzuki put in here. This is covered in dog hair. This used to be the puppy's car, but not so much anymore. He rides in mine. And to be honest, I really have to clean it, but I haven't. You've got 60/40 split back seats. The center seat is slightly raised. There is a transmission tunnel in this one, being a all-wheel drive and having a drive shaft. But you've got ISOFIX points on both the outboard seats. And the center armrest comes down, and it's the luxurious type, where the cup holders aren't just stamped out of the armrest. They come out very gingerly and very slowly and very precisely, and I love that. The car's now full of mosquitoes as well. And then on the parcel tray, you have your speaker set up. Let me show you the beating heart of this weapon of a car. And I'll also tell you a story about why I bought this, because again, like I said at the time, cars are really inflated. So these were going for like 22 grand. And the reason that I got this one for 10, it was actually listed for 13 and a half, is firstly, the guy was in a kind of a rush to sell it. He was the second owner and he had only had it for a couple of months from what I understand. He told me that he had two cars, he was living in the city and they were parked at two different apartment garages. He was renting one for this or the other, I don't know. But he decided to get rid of this one. When I bought it, the engine bay was covered in coolant and there were signs of someone trying to clean it up and wipe it up. The reservoir cap was missing. Again, that's pretty scary. There was like a milk bottle cap wedged in there. And that's kind of off-putting to most people. You see coolant, signs of coolant splashery, you smell it, and then the reservoir cap is missing. You think, it's over-pressurizing, it's a little bit scary. On the test drive, the AC was warm, and again, that's pretty concerning. But then I went through the books of this, and I'm not some anal guy, who sits there and like scours with a magnifying glass every little thing. I skimmed through it, I saw every single stamp was filled in, every sort of 10, 15,000 kilometers, as it should be. And so all of a sudden, there was no reason for this to suddenly blow a head gasket. If there was things missing, and there was no sort of history for it, then yeah, sure, maybe a head gasket. But I thought, you know, it's got to be something small. The other big thing that ties in with that is it wouldn't get up to running temperature. It was just kind of staying cold. And I suspected it was probably original thermostat. And I also suspected it was probably original AC gas in there. So 12 years then, and or 10 years, whatever it was. Yeah, really time to get some new gas in there and get it flushed out. So I bought it, and yeah, I was right. It was the original thermostat. So that was like $30 to replace. I got the AC regassed, and it's been brilliant since. The coolant reservoir cap, these are known to just blow them off. Just a really bad design. They're press fit, just like most cars, but they don't really press fit very well. And so when the coolant recovery or the expansion happens, when the radiator cap spring lifts up and it sends hot coolant, pressurized hot coolant into it, it doesn't put it in from the top. It puts it in from the bottom and just blows the cap off. So on this one, you'll see that I've made a little sling around it just to keep that in place. And there's also a gasket that goes under there. When I got this, I had all that work done. It started getting up to running temperature. The AC got cold. It stopped spitting coolant out everywhere. And I found a workshop for it. So you know me, I like doing work on cars myself. But the thing is, we're so busy now. We're so busy and we're so exhausted. I'm not going to get into private details and things like that, but I found a really good workshop, and when you find one of them, they're so good, because I'm going to tell you about a really bad place. Yeah, there's also a really bad place as well that I found. But yeah, the place that I found that's really good, they did the thermostat on it, the AC regas. I also got them to do the CVT transmission flush, and both the filters on the CVT transmission. Engine oil, I think they did, yeah, they put all new brake discs, brake rotors, I needed that. Brake fluid, obviously. Just recently I had the fan belt done and new spark plugs put in and a coolant flush. So yeah, she is tip top in terms of maintenance. That's all you got to do with something like this. You just take it in once or twice a year, depending on how many Ks you do. This used to do a ton of kilometers, like 33,000 kilometers a year, when both me and my wife were driving it. Now, me and my wife and the puppas mostly go on my car. And so this really just does like errands and grocery shopping and stuff like that. And that's good, because getting to the downsides of this, actually, before I get to the downsides, let me tell you a story about finding the bad workshop, the wrong workshop. There's a place near where I work. They have a giant mechanical workshop, giant. And so I thought, well, it's really convenient if I just take it there. This place that is close to where I work, and I get a discount on, supposedly, I think, was just really convenient, because I could go to work and just toss the keys over like this. Hey, take the car, service it. Anyway, I said to them, 2 months before I booked it in, 2 months before, well, I booked it in, and I said, this is what I want done. I want the fan belt done, the spark plugs, the engine oil and filter, and a coolant flush. And they said, great, we'll order the parts. 2 months later, I sent an email off with exactly what I wanted done again, and I went and gave the keys over, and I said, here's the car. I'll see you later on today. I finish at this time of the day. An hour before I was meant to finish, I was like, what's going on? Like, so I sent a message, and I was like, what's happening with my car? Came back to me and said, oh, mate, hey, yeah, so your car needs a fan belt, spark plugs, and a coolant flush. I was like, oh my God, guys, I told you that's what it needed. They're like, yeah, so that's what it needs. We had a look at it, and do you want us to go ahead and order the parts? It's when you want to pick up 2 bricks, not one, and just burst yourself into like nothing, because it's so frustrating. You're like, yes, I booked this in 2 months ago. Yes, that's what I want. With the other workshop, the good workshop, I dropped it off. They were fully booked, and they're like, yeah, we'll look at it when we can. They call me like 2 hours later. They're like, yeah, thermostat's done, AC's regas, come get it. And that's when I booked it in for the rest of the stuff. The other workshop, also the good workshop, uses Penrite, premium Penrite, not Penrite Pro, which is kind of like watered down Penrite. Penrite, if you don't know, is like a premium engine oil. For workshops, they have like a watered down version. These guys promote that they don't use a watered down version. They use actual like premium stuff that you get retail. The workshop that's close to me, anyway, it took them a day, the next day, to get all the work done. And I was in a rush because Papa's at home. He's been home all day. I got to get home, let him out, pee, whatever. So I got the car. And I was like, you know, I'm just going to have a quick look under the bonnet. They forgot to fill the coolant up. The reservoir was completely empty. So before I left, I filled that up with just water from the office. And I got home, and it was fine. A month later, I lifted up the bonnet. The whole front end was covered in coolant. And I looked, and the little bleeder valve wasn't closed properly. So it was leaking out from there. And they lost a gasket that went under the reservoir cap. So you have to have that gasket. I booked it in again for them to look at. I dropped it off and I said, can you guys look at why this is happening? I got a coolant flush and now my car's pissing coolant out everywhere. They had it the whole day and I contacted them and said, what's happening with my car? And they said, you need a brand new radiator cap. We've ordered one. Oh yeah. When I replaced the reservoir cap on this with a new gasket, I put a new radiator cap on it at the same time. I got both. And it's so easy to diagnose. I diagnosed it myself in like 2 minutes. Oh, the gasket's gone. Oh, the bleeder valve is leaking. That was it. So yeah, like hours and hours of inconvenience, and they don't even diagnose it properly. So yeah, I decided then and there, like, I'm not dealing with any other workshop for this car. I'm just taking it to that other place, even though it's further out. And the reason I don't do my own work on this is I did one service on it. It's not like a 4-wheel that's high off the ground. By the time you lift up all 4 sides and put them on jack stands and take the wheels off and take off the 1,400 plastic covers under it, like 4 hours have passed, and like, is that really necessary? And then you got to take the used oil away and things like that. You're covered in grease and oil. Like, for a couple of $100, just drop it off to a really good place and let them do it, because they'll do it much faster and much better. And it's pretty hard to say that in today's day and age, because in today's world, things are getting more and more expensive and shitter. There's no two ways about it. The government's gone nuts around the world, not just in America, Australia, around the world. Look at England, and the corporations are seeing this. Obviously, the politicians are in the pockets of the corporations. Well, the corporations are in the pockets of the politicians. And yeah, it's just a feeding frenzy on the average consumer. So yeah, it's good to find a good workshop. Anyway, speaking of all the plastic covers underneath, this one was missing one clip. One little clip. I know I'm bragging, I'm ranting on. There was one clip missing, and in fact, in my workshop, we had it on the hoist where I work. We noticed that it was missing a clip, so we put a cable tie on it. The really good workshop that it's been to twice now, they took the plastic covers off, did the work they had to, put all the clips back in, and cable tied the one that was missing, like any normal person would do. The place that I work just fucking threw it away. They just got rid of it. They just took it off and they're like, it's missing a clip, and just threw it away. And they didn't even tell me until I looked under it. And I was like, oh wow, they actually just binned it. So yeah, it's really important to find the right place. The big downside, if you're thinking about getting a car like this, is the CVT transmission. That is the one bad thing about these cars. They come in 2 models. You can get a front-wheel drive 6-speed manual, but if you want the all-wheel drive, and I don't think the front-wheel drive 6-speed manual comes with all of the luxury features. It may do. I don't really know, to be honest. I'm just talking crap. If you want the all-wheel drive CVT, if you want the all-wheel drive automatic, it will only be a CVT. And that's the biggest complaint that the journalists had at the time this was new. It's still the biggest complaint, because with the CVT transmission, no matter how much you service it, it will fail. It will let go on you. It just depends on how well it's been maintained and how it's been driven as to when it will fail. This car, when we bought it, had done 170,000 kilometers. It's now done 210,000 kilometers, so quite a bit for a couple of years. Not quite a couple of years, like a year and 8 months, a year and 9 months. And it's working fine. Like I said, we had it maintained. It's been dealership service its whole life. But I know one day it's going to go. The thing you have to realize is, does that make this car not worth buying? Yes. If you've got like $5,000 in your pocket and you want to go get one of these, and you're worried that the CVT transmission might go, unless you're a gambling man or woman, probably not the best car for you. If you do have like $10,000 and the car only costs $5,000, then yeah, absolutely, get it. Because think about what you can get for $10,000 in this, or less, depending on where you are in the world, and what you can get in a modern car today. If you went out and bought a brand new car, which obviously if you're looking for a car like this, you're probably not looking for a brand new car. But you might be looking for a second car. Anyway, a brand new car, you may or may not have noticed, is made of plastic and just garbage, crap. I know the CVT is not good, but everything about new cars is crap, everything. They're just not built to last. In fact, they're purposely built to break. Even Toyota's cheaping out. So, what do? Just rebuild the transmission. I came across a quote to replace a CVT from a dealership here in Perth for Suzuki, for the Kizashi. And guess how much the dealership wants to replace the gearbox in this car? Just take a wild guess. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10? No, $17,000 to replace the transmission in one of these. No, you don't need to go, no, don't do that. Don't go to the dealership. They sell rebuild kits for these CVTs, and any reputable automatic transmission shop that does rebuilds will be able to throw that in there, drive in, drive out for about $3,500 to $7,000, depending on where you live. And I think for a car that cost me 10 grand, that has all of these features, that is in really good shape inside, minus a little paint scuffs and things like that, spending like another 5K getting the transmission rebuilt is a no-brainer versus going out and buying another car for what? What am I going to get like this for 10, 15 grand? Nothing. So yeah, I think it's definitely a car that you should put on your list because it is very special. Like I said, it is the first and last Kizashi model of Suzuki. And I think, without getting too philosophical, just rounding up the video, Japan's probably on its last legs right now. They came in, everyone doubted them, Jap crap, I don't want that garbage, until they took over the world. And people were like, if it ain't freaking Nissan or Toyota, I'm not buying it. And now the Chinese are doing what the Japanese did in the 60s and 70s. They're coming in, and people like me are looking at it and going, I'm not even going to touch that thing. My children will vouch for it. My grandchildren will tell me just how much better a Chinese car is than my Japanese cars. That's how the world works. The Japanese population is dying, their culture is dying. Unfortunately, the brands that I love so much are dying. And yeah, it is the last of its kind. So if something is unique and in limited supply and rare, it becomes exclusive. And one day, maybe these might be worth something. So you might just be able to buy something, drive it, use it, and then sell it and not lose a cent. That's my rant done. I talk a lot. I'm very sorry. Nice to see you again. I'm doing well. Take care. Bye.